Hello, today I'm with Cindy Tait, owner for Center for Healthcare Education, for another episode of HeartTalk. Cindy, thank you for being with us today.
Oh, thank you, Nathan. It's an honor and a privilege to be here.
Now, Cindy, you are really a force in the CPR industry. Your reach goes far beyond just Southern California. But I think a lot of people would like to know, how did you get started in the CPR industry?
Well, to make a long story short, I actually started out in corporate health and fitness, and then every summer I would work as a camp counselor and then eventually a camp nurse. And I'm like, I need more training. I need more equipment. So I came back and got CPR trained and EMT trained and paramedic trained and got my teaching credential. And then I just found a passion for resuscitation education. So CPR and first aid.
Well, I think too, like you said, your experience, it really showcases, right? 'Cause it's not just training in one thing, but a whole other area. What are like some of the goals and missions that you really want to accomplish with Center for Healthcare of Education?
We have trained, our best estimate is over 400,000 people. Yeah, in the last 40-some, it is crazy. But it's not about the numbers. It's about the individual person and what makes a difference. So I don't wake up in the morning and go, I need to train more people. It's like I need to train the people who are going to make a difference, who are the feet on the street. And being a paramedic and a nurse, our response times are 4 minutes and could be 4 hours, and so we really need those feet on the street, the first providers to make a difference. And then we can get there and add in the other links in the chain of survival.
When I think you say too, 400,000, you think like those people all then affect someone else's life, right? Because they can, teach things that they've learned, or they can put those things into effect. So when you're having your classes and you're having your recertification, or when people are learning CPR for the first time, what's something that you always really love to incorporate in your classes that you feel like is going to make students remember, but also be able to put those things into practice with confidence?
That's a good question, and you just said one of my favorite words, confidence. So it's competence. So we have the curriculum from the American Heart Association, but we also want them to be competent. So we don't want them to be afraid. And you're here working with our instructors today, working with really getting more awareness of performing CPR in women, because they haven't been confident of that. So it's confidence and competence. In the old days, things were really strict. We used to have these printouts and, all this crazy stuff. And so we're still following all the rules and regulations, and the guidelines are so much more science-based, but we're having some fun. Now, it's okay. And you're here at an instructor class, and they're in there, they're making friends, they're getting to know each other, and they're laughing, and they're just having a good time. At the same time, they're learning what they need to know. So I think that's one of the elements.
Definitely, and that's one of the things that I do love always coming to see Center for Healthcare of Education is that you guys do have such a diverse group of people. Like you said, from all backgrounds of life, whether it be not just a lay responder, but school districts, hospital, EMS, fire. But you see it, as a female business owner, what is the importance of health equity when it comes to CPR training?
It's interesting. We've been talking a lot about that this workshop. We have the poorest county in California represented here, and I won't mention that county, but pretty much every person who needs CPR, they're farm workers, they may not be legal residents of this country, certainly the women that we've been talking about, and it doesn't matter. We need to do CPR. We shouldn't discriminate or be afraid to start CPR on people. So equity is huge, and it also involves, it's not a free course. We have to pay for the mannequins, we have to pay for the instructors, we have to pay for the travel, we have to pay for the books and the cars, and that's just pretty much anything that you teach of any quality. There's a cost involved and the time involved, and so we don't want anyone to not be able to take a CPR class or become an instructor because of cost.
Yeah, because of those shortcomings. Because like you said, having that access is important for everyone to have access to CPR training, but also quality, right? Quality CPR training. What would you say is one thing for lay responders, one of the most important things to remember when conducting CPR?
You know, we know so many people. I've known so many people in the industry. The father of EMS, Jim Page, the father of CPR, Dr. Max Harry Weil, Dr. Peter Safer, you know, the neuromedicine. And, you know, kind of their bottom line was we're like Navy SEALs. You know, we train as if we're going to perform. But when you get out there, there's always some variable. There's like crowd control or something going on. So Dr. Max Harry Weil used to say, any CPR is better than no CPR. Certainly do your best. So that's especially true for lay rescuers. For healthcare providers, we're held to a different standard, you know, and we look at the standards of, you know, CCF has to be 80 to 81%, and we strive for those goals. But for our lay rescuers, any CPR is better than no CPR.
Okay. Because I think that's important, like you said, right? I mean, a lot of people are certified, but is the confidence there? And so for them to know, maybe I'm not doing it perfectly, but like you said, any CPR is better than no CPR.
Well, and we do debriefs. We do debriefs with lay people. We do them with in-hospital, out-of-hospital rescuers, but especially the out-of-hospital. The question is, tell me how it went. Here's always the answer. The first minute or two, things were crazy. People were yelling, call 911, I need some help. You know, is this a real thing or is it a practice thing? But they always say, 100% of the time, they say after a minute or two, we remembered what we learned in your class, at the center's class, and we kind of got in that muscle memory mode and what we learned in the book and the videos, and things just kind of clicked.
Yeah. Well, you said holding yourself to a higher standard, right? When I feel like Center for Healthcare, you definitely hold yourself to a high standard. So what would you say, you know, makes Center for Healthcare of Education unique?
One of the things is we do this full time. This is my life's mission. We have full-time instructors, you know, an office. We work with the community. We're sitting here in a church with a drum set in the back. And so we get a lot of phone calls and it's like, you're the first person who's answered our call. So I think just that this is what we do. So I think that's part of the reason. And then we don't spare any expense. You know, whether we need to buy a van or buy new equipment or, you know, new female mannequins or hire amazing staff, we do that because it all translates to quality education. And people pick up on that.
Yeah.
And right now the economy is not that great. So people have limited dollars. So when they look at who they're going to train with, they're like, we don't have the time to swing and miss and mess around. We want to go with quality. And the word on the street is that's the center.
Yes.
So.
Well, and I feel like too, there's such an energy when you come here. You know, you and your staff, you guys all create such a warm and welcoming environment.
Yeah.
The way you teach, you know, it's engaging. So for you, you know, when you wake up every day, what is your why? Why do you continue this mission?
You know, it's partly my family.
Okay.
You know, I was there literally at 4 o'clock in the morning when my father had a heart attack. I just happened to be stopping by the house to drop off a pet before I was gonna go up to Central California, and my dad's standing there in the street because he walks early in the morning and he goes, I think I hurt my arm golfing, his left arm. He's pale, cool, and clammy, and I'm like, oh, no, let's, you know, here's an aspirin. Yeah. And got him to the hospital, and he was having a massive heart attack, and he was gonna go lay down. And had I not recognized that and been there, I wouldn't have my dad here anymore. So part of it's family, and then part of it is, you know, these instructors and the people, they'll call us, and you know, so there's hero awards available, or they're like, you know, I got a phone call the other day and we made a difference. We have a lot of athletic trainers in here and nurses and police officers.
Well, I think too, you know, especially with, I feel like CPR has almost had a national, even almost worldwide spotlight right now with Damar Hamlin and whatnot. So I feel like people do see the need for it, right? I think everyone has a loved one of something that could happen at any time. So having those, you know, skills and having that knowledge in the back of your mind of what to do, like that saved your dad's life.
Absolutely. And Damar, everybody's saying his help was there in 10 seconds. He had one person's CPR, two person's CPR, an AED, and then advanced life support. The average response time in most cities like this is like 4.5 minutes. That's a long time. You know, Damar may not have had 4 minutes and 32 seconds. So we're here, we'll respond as EMS providers, but it's got to be the feet on the street that just get involved and make a difference.
And that's what you're training people for. What do you see for the future for Center for Healthcare of Education? What's something that maybe you're looking to, conquer maybe in the next few years?
We'd like to see certainly more training. Like before you graduate high school, you have to have a CPR. Okay. And a fun CPR class, not like, oh, you gotta have it or, you don't get to go matriculate to college. But a good CPR class. I want to see more AEDs out there. They're fairly affordable, but just more access, just more grant monies. I think Hamlin's foundation may be putting in some AEDs and certainly funding some AED trainers. I know his focus is kids, junior high school and high school, but they need to know where it is, how to use it, and not be afraid to use it.
What I think too, having insight from leaders like you in the industry is important because you're here, in the trenches every day, really creating awareness. So having your insight and what needs to be improved upon, I know we can all learn from that. So I want to thank you so much for being with us today on Heart Talk. I really appreciate your time, and hopefully we'll be able to talk again soon.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for everything that you do.
Thank you, Cindy.
All right, Nathan.